In this daily drop, we're going to be taking a first look at the night fog filters from Tiffin. So let's go. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Or if you are watching this on another day of the week, happy that day of the week. And here we are in the barn again, and it is time to talk filters, or at least start this conversation. And what I wanted to do was go beyond the filters that we normally use in production. What are those? ND filters, neutral density, generally used to control exposure and also to hold the aperture or depth of field that we want to shoot with. Number two, probably polarizers, great for deepening skies, getting rid of or removing unwanted reflections, or at least reducing them. And then also graduated filters, great for things like, you've got a city skyline and you want the sky to feel a little deeper or moodier, and then you want to hold the city. I mean, there's a lot of uses for grads, but that's just one example. So I asked Tiffin if they wouldn't mind sending me a box of different filtration options. There's still more coming, but I have these night fog filters, and I thought what we would do today is audition the three densities that I have. I have a half, a 1, and a 2. We'll do it right here in this setup. Not my wife's favorite shirt in the world, but these polka dots might help when we're looking at sort of the glowing of the actual filtration and what that looks like. Added a few more lights here, and what we're looking at right now is clean. So I'm on the Sigma 18-50. We're shooting at an f2.8, and I am at about or just exactly at a 50 millimeter focal length. So we're not going to get into using different densities at different focal lengths today. What I really want to do in this episode is just take a look at the different densities and what's happening. These are basically atmospheric effects. So they're going to reduce contrast a little. We should start to see the blacks here lift a little, but it's still going to hold the blacks and shadows quite well. We'll start to see a little bit of a glow here. And what I'm interested in seeing, and I haven't tried all of these, I just threw the number 1 on there briefly to see what it looked like, is whether or not it can play as haze to create that atmosphere inside of the space, especially for something interior, because, you're not going to be able to haze a space a lot of the times. The space may have actual guidelines and things like that related to the fire department, or you don't want to haze it because, even with food grade stuff, there's going to be a little bit of a film that can get on things inside of that space. So it might be something that we like. It might not. But we're going to start strong here. And what I'm going to do is put the number 2, then we'll go to 1, then we'll go to half. I'll also do a little bit of a flare. So I've got the Luxli Cello2 set to 10% at basically a daylight color temperature. You can sort of see what's happening when I flare the lens here. I'm just going to hold it like that. And we'll want to see what happens with the reaction between the filter and the flare as well. And then what you'll probably see, which is the importance of flagging that light so you're not flaring the lens when you're using things like this, unless that's really an effect you're looking for. All right, so I'm going to dip to black, and the next thing we're going to see is night fog in the density of 2. All right, kids, here it is. So this is strong. And you can start to see what's happening. I have a monitor over here for reference, but you can start to see what's happening with the space. You can see that those shadows, those blacks, are being raised. It feels like there's a lot of haze in here. And when you haze a room, as opposed to put fog in there, what you want is you want to waft it and you want it to sort of hang there. So you don't necessarily want to see it moving around very much, but this is pretty drastic. And it'll be pretty interesting to see how this would hold in a daylight situation, in an exterior at nighttime. But this is interior in a controlled environment. And let's go ahead and flare this, and we'll just see what happens when that light source starts to hit the filter itself. And that's pretty fascinating compared to what we were seeing before with the lens just clean. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so there you go. So that's number 2. What we're going to do now is dip to black, and I'm going to put the density of 1 on here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. I'll be right back. Okay, here we are with night fog at a density of 1. And you can see it is greatly reduced, though still very present. We're still getting a lift here. Again, I'm looking for reference in the shadows area, and this is what it looks like. I think we should check the flare. Definitely feeling a little bit closer to what I might want if I just wanted to make it feel like I was hazing the space. Let's see what happens with the flare on the lens. This is the only one that I threw up onto the lens earlier on. And I'm curious now to see what happens when we put the half on there. I'm wondering if that's going to be the place that I might want to use this. I haven't even opened this yet. So what we're going to do is, while I do that, we'll dip to black. I'll come back and we'll take a look at the half. All right, here we are with the night fog at the half density. And now we're starting to get somewhere. Now, don't get me wrong. I did not dislike number 1. But to me, what I'm starting to see here in this frame, what you're starting to see for what's on screen for you, this is starting to feel like I'm hazing the space a little bit, but I'm still getting some sharpness on talent, and we're raising that just a little. We're getting some halation. The contrast is feeling pretty good overall, and I'm kind of digging this half strength density on night fog. Now, again, there's a bunch of other filters I have to try, but let's see what that little flare looks like. And it's reduced a little. I mean, obviously, at least in my opinion, I wouldn't want to flare the lens when I'm using a specialty atmospheric filter like this. But I could see this working in this kind of scenario. It does feel like there's some haze hanging in the background there without me doing anything at all. And they have a lot of other really cool filters like black fog. They have smoke and things like that. But this night fog one really intrigued me because where I live here in Oregon, we get a lot of fog at night and in the mornings. And it feels more like this. Well, sometimes it feels like 2 or worse, and that's no bueno when you're driving, but that's life living where I do in Oregon. All right, hopefully this was a good first look at the night fog filters from Tiffin. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.